Stitt, David Winker.
They haven't fired us yet.
No, 12. Actually 13. So this might be the day
I have to give a shout out to South Miami Commissioner Josh Liebman.
Okay, what did he do wrong?
Who dropped a discouraging word about the show.
A discouraging word?
I'm glad he's listening.
Put on the chat so I can
But he said,
out him.
but he said, he goes, hey, man, great job. Only 155 more Mainline Marlins shows to go.
Oh. Is he counting?
Commissioner is
an avid listener. Yeah, that's good to know. Like he was probably, I think yesterday he was probably busy at the ceremony for
Bicycle Bob.
Yeah.
Bicycle Bob.
They actually shut down freebie service for 2 hours during that time.
Yeah.
I've never seen that ever happen before.
It's interesting. Agree or disagree with some of Bicycle Bob's positions.
Right.
He had an impact.
Yeah.
You know, that's what more could we ask
time for South Miami. So let's talk about. There's a bunch of things I want to talk about. Mainly Adam Duvall doing exactly what we brought him here to do.
And what we talked about so much in baseball is just making it so they can't put you down. They can't put him down.
Right. So he's like, oh, I got you, Blade kid. Punk kid.
These kids are playing, man.
Yeah. Listen, I have a feeling Blade by summertime will be in Miami.
Yeah.
He's going to start in Jacksonville just because we're loaded in the outfield right now, but he's going to get a chance.
We got some outfielders.
Yeah. And look at B Anderson yesterday, 2 for 3.
Yeah.
Had a double there. They look good. There was some young pitching that got in there that gave up runs, not guys that are going to contend for a starting spot or even bullpen, to be honest, because Curtis pitched okay, and I think he's going to end up in the bullpen, the guy we got from Tampa, John Curtis. But then the interesting signing yesterday was the 35-year-old from Hialeah, Gio Gonzalez.
Yep.
And a lefty, which is we need more lefties.
We need lefties. We have one lefty right now.
Trevor, if he ends up, but I think he's going to pitch tomorrow against Houston. I'm not sure who's going to pitch the game because we're going on Saturday. And either we're going to figure out, maybe we do a pregame show from Deli Lane tomorrow. Saturday morning.
Good.
Have a Deli Lane omelet. Usually they come up with an omelet of the day, and then cruise. Do a little pregame show, and then go up there. And we'll do it live.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to have a new camera system where it's sit on a tripod, and the iPad controls it automatically. We don't need anybody to run it, push and go. And it'll just figure out who's talking, and the camera will turn to that person. So, thanks, awesome. Mevo. That's the name of the brand that does it. So I'm super pumped about opening day. We got tickets to opening day.
We have tickets to opening day. We'll be there.
Right. And now we've got to remind everybody that Friday, 9:00 for Marlin members, noon for general public. I recommend getting them ASAP. There are going to be some people that snatch up a bunch of them and then throw them on StubHub.
It's going to be interesting to see. I got to tell you, this there's been some optimism, not to bring the real world into our baseball podcast, but there's been some really, it seemed like good developments in the public health issue of COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of people vaccinated. They're saying we're going to have a lot of people vaccinated by the end of March. A lot of the adult population vaccinated, and baseball and MLS may be the big beneficiaries of this. Of as people can start going back out. It's just baseball's timing is perfect. Summer, outside, people desperate to go do some communal events. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I can't imagine, for example, Fenway, Wrigley, those kind of parks that are sold out every game, how hot those tickets are going to be this summer. Smoking hot.
Yeah.
And super expensive. It's already expensive to go to a game at Wrigley.
Yeah.
I worked for the Cubs for a couple years, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go pretty much anytime I wanted. But to do it on a date, That's a $500 proposition.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like think about down here already. Spring training is sold; those games are sold out, as we've seen.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see. Like I said, I can't even imagine in those northern cities in the summer do it. But yeah, they could be a really big beneficiary of getting back to normal as they slowly bring this out. I mean, look at what's going to happen in Texas. I mean, they're saying there's no restrictions. I mean, are they saying that Minute Maid and the Rangers
full capacity?
Are they going to be full capacity? I don't know. I guess Major League Baseball may put some reasonable limits on that. But as far as Texas goes, they're open for business. I mean, they're doing it, so it'll be interesting.
Right. Well, I mean, you could carry a gun in the ballpark too. I think actually, who knows? So we've got tomorrow. So we ended up 8-5 yesterday. 3-0 and 0 or 1. But I don't even think they count that. On the record, it just says 3-0. So I'll go with that. Unless if the game doesn't finish, I'm not going to count it as a win or a loss. It has to be counted as nothing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bud Selig. Anyway, let's figure out. So we've got Rogers tomorrow against Houston. That one's in Palm Beach again. I'm interested to see him. He had limited outings last year, but while he was out there, he performed pretty well.
Yep.
So I think they're expecting him to come back stronger and smarter, and have developed his pitches a little bit more, given some depth to those existing, his existing arsenal. So yeah, I'm going to be watching that tomorrow, even though I've got a full day here. But we're going to come back in the morning and let's preview Houston. Houston game, because we got to see those guys on the first day. So we can talk a little bit.
Those unrepentant cheaters.
I mean, I hate them no matter what, and I'm going to, root against them, against every opponent, including the Yankees. Whoever they play, I'm for that team. But I still want to see a good game out of Trevor, and I want to see some of these other guys that we haven't seen yet. Sixto is going to come. Is probably in the next.
There was an article in the Herald today. I don't know if you saw it. That was about, Sixto. They're bringing him back slowly. There's no rush. Like, we haven't seen some of these arms yet. So
right, and then they just came out with a bunch of cool gear, Sixto gear. It's called Prospects to Pros.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have that. If you go over to that other screen right there, I've got that tab open. I can't remember. That's something baseball tee or.
Oh, Denise, be careful with those tabs.
Yeah. Give me the website, because there's a bunch of other cool T-shirts on there, Miami related.
The website is Breaking Tee.
Yeah, BreakingTee.com. So that's where you can get the Sixto shirt. But then they got the Donnie baseball shirt. They got a couple other cool Marlins ones, and then they have some really cool ones for the Heat and for the Dolphins. And I think there's even one with the mustache that says Q is here, as in Coach Quenville. So I think that's pretty cool. So awesome. We're going to be back on tomorrow morning. I did get an email from Kelly Sacco from Fox Sports Florida. So we're going to try to get her on via Zoom or in the studio, whatever we can do. It might not be next week, but maybe the week after, where we can kind of get her vibe about what's going on. She's up there in Jupiter, but another perspective on how the roster is developing. Who's going to stay? Who's going to have to go to Jacksonville or deeper? And then just kind of her idea of where how can we be dead last? I just don't get it.
It's going to be interesting. Well, here's the thing. It's we got to see the Mets.
Yep.
We beat the Mets.
Yeah.
I'd love to get an update.
And that really expensive shortstop was playing too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
What was his name? Lindor. Yeah. He's going to be a bust.
And it's interesting. But I'm dying to hear about what's happening in Atlanta, right? I mean, we don't, this is not a normal spring training where we get to play a bunch of these guys. So we'll see. But, it will be interesting, it's early, but you couldn't ask for much more from what the Marlins have done so far.
Yeah.
It was interesting because the Herald talked about the bats are a little slow. And I guess overall,
they need to go to my Twitter account, Mainline Marlins, and watch that Adam Duvall stroke. That bat was not slow at all. In fact, yeah, it was pretty fast, and that exit velocity was monster. I don't see how. Yeah, it was amazing.
So
slow bats.
Slow bats.
I don't know about that.
Bats got to come, but
well, yeah. I mean, what with the 0-0 game? That's the only slow bat game we had. Yeah, the other.
I agree.
The other games we scored 14 runs. So what who's writing for the Herald? They're just getting like rookie.
And I got to tell you
high school
something. A
kids.
shout out to Christina DiNicola. We're getting nothing but demands to have her back on the show.
Yeah, and she agreed to it. I mean, probably
And other shows want you
not
on.
wanting to.
And I do want to bring up something. March is the Women's History Month.
Yep.
And I posted on Facebook a picture of my daughter who hits in the batting cage every day at home, about girl power. And it's interesting to see the Marlins. They really have embraced. They've got a lot of powerful women in front office, covering the team.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people's eyes were opened.
That's another T-shirt that you can get at that website.
What is it?
It's called Glass Ceiling Shattered.
Glass Ceiling
Yeah, with
Shattered.
the NG in another color for Kim Ng.
I love it.
So
Cool.
I think we ought to try to get both Kelly Sacco and Kim Ng on this month, honoring women.
Yeah.
Not only women in baseball, but women in power.
I love it. It's interesting because coming from the sports world, especially sports radio, there's been a long tradition of, when people hear women on the sports radio, it's like, why is there a woman talking on my radio, and how do I make it stop?
Right.
And all kidding aside, I love the diversity. I love that they're bringing in these different voices, and I think it just strengthens the game. I love seeing Mendoza covering games.
Right.
As an announcer, I think it's great, and I think it's really important to grow the sport. My daughter loves baseball. My wife loves baseball, and that inclusion is just going to have to just continue. And I think baseball is leading the way. Although I got to tell you something, man. The other day I was watching a basketball game, and to be able to point out to my 8-year-old daughter, look at the ref with the ponytail. Look at the little blonde look at the blonde ref with the ponytail.
Right.
Look at the black female ref.
Right. And we had a ref in the Super Bowl.
So I think it's cool, man. I think it's really
super
something
cool.
Something to watch for.
All the three women that we just talked about, Christy Nicola, Kelly Sacco, Kim Ng, they all played.
Yeah.
They all played either at high school. Kelly played at Syracuse, and then Kim Ng played. So, I mean, there's no reason why they don't know that game. In fact, Christy DiNicola, when it comes to talking the Marlins, makes me look like a child.
It's interesting because I don't want to, sometimes it can be seen as a backhanded compliment, but the reaction we had to having Christina on was so strong.
Yeah, yeah.
And not that I don't think it was people's low expectations of Christina. It's just like she really knows her stuff and can really speak well about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of demand for that. And there's a lot of the hardcore fans. They want to know what's going on. And the thing about baseball is that in-depth thing is what makes it's fun. It's like anything. It's any sport. I always say this is our soap opera.
Yeah.
To me, this is my soap opera, and I love following the day in and day out. And I do care, who the backup outfielders are. I find it interesting.
Right.
And I think most people do that follow the game, and so I think that's obviously what we're trying to do this podcast too. Also, bringing players in, talking about the background of the players. I think that's what makes that's what makes the experience interesting. Right.
And I think tomorrow we're going to pick another 2 guys to do in the morning to highlight the guys that are non-roster guys. Maybe even talk about. Maybe I'll pick Gio Gonzalez to talk about tomorrow.
Cool. Let's do it.
I think he went to he didn't go to. He went to somewhere in Miami Gardens High School.
Yeah. He went to high school.
Yeah, Miami Gardens.
Local.
So that's it for today. If you want to read more of Christy DiNicola's stuff, just follow her on Twitter. All her articles are put out, and she writes so proficiently and so well, and it's interesting reads every time. But listen, we're on a bunch of social channels that people need to be obviously on Instagram at Mainline Marlins, Twitter at Mainline Marlins, Facebook. I think 100 different podcasts you can find us on, whether you're an Apple or a Android person, or Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on there right now.
Yeah, I saw
Mainline Marlins. So if you're on any one of those podcast channels, all you have to do is type in Mainline Marlins podcast or Mainline Marlins, and it'll pop up there for you. So tomorrow's another day. Today we're off. Team's off, but we'll be back in the morning with episode 13 on a Friday. Imagine that.
Sounds
all right,
great.
The Marlins Nation.